Start us off, we'll talk about the Grand Army of the Republic, then the Galactic Empire. The Grand Army of the Republic, or for short, GAR, had many ships and had a pretty big fleet. They used different ships for different purposes, just like the military in real life, where they have different vehicles for different purposes. The Venator was used as the main battleship, and there were many support vessels like the Aquentus ships and Assimator ships. The Venator had slow maneuverability and speed, but packed a punch against the CIS with its big deck guns. The Aquentus ship was a small command ship used as a support vessel for cargo and small garrison of troops. It was a fast ship with two main deck guns on the top of the ship. The Assimator was meant for troops, cargo, and vehicles like the ATTE and the ATRT. It had ammo, guns, and other war supplies for the troops. The ship was used to land and unload troops for assaults on the enemy. I believe that GAR could have had more variation on the ships, and the weapons could have been different from one another between the ships, instead of having the same weapons or very similar weapons on all their ships. GAR's ships and vehicles all had their weaknesses, mostly the same, which means that they could easily be defeated and or exploited. The Venator and Aquentus had almost identical weaknesses to each other. They had next to no point-blank defenses in areas of the ship that were vulnerable. Their engines were really exposed and had little point-blank defenses. The bridge and hangars were also very weak with little to no point-blank defenses. Ground vehicles also had some pretty bad weaknesses that were constantly exploited by the enemy. The legs and wheels were exposed and could be blown up or destroyed by enemy mines or missiles. They also had their control sensors exposed to missiles and gunfire. The Galactic Senate was very powerful but had quite a bit of corruption. Senate debates would last for many days and in worst cases weeks with little resolutions to the problems. This is seen when the Senate doesn't do much about the invasion of Naboo. They had a vote of no confidence and the new election was held. Senator Palpatine had rigged the vote and made it so he was in power and was given emergency powers by the Senate. He ordered there to be an army created, where there were over 100,000 made with 1,000,000 more on the way. This is when more ships were created and they had fought on Geonosis to start the Clone Wars, which lasted more than 3 years. The Jedi tried to arrest the Chancellor for being corrupt, and he was in office longer than he should have. He turned out to be the evil Sith Lord Darth Sidious, and executed Order 66 because he said that the Jedi had committed treason and had tried to assassinate him. Darth Sidious turned the Galactic Republic into the first Galactic Empire. This was the whole plan since the creation of the Clone Army. I believe that the Republic was really good, but the senators ignored the corruption or were oblivious to it. The Chancellor became the Emperor and turned from having a good grasp on the government to having full control of the government and the galaxy. Now that the rule of the Republic is gone, it's now the rule of the Empire. The Empire was governed by Darth Sidious, and his apprentice Darth Vader was the enforcer of the galaxy. The Empire ran the government with fear and violence to enlist power over the weak. The Empire took money from the poor and made the galaxy poor. He just took money from the people to fuel the Empire's military. The remaining clones were turned into the first generation of stormtroopers with fully new kitted out white armor and new weapons to go with it. The Imperial Army was mostly made of untrained troops, unlike the clones who were taught to take orders without question and were trained to fight since birth. The Imperial government was a totalitarian government which meant full control over people's lives. It holds no elections and there's no way for there to be a new governor. I believe that the Empire is way more corrupt than the Republic. People were much more like the Nazis in Germany in World War II by taking all freedoms and rights away from the people. The emperor was greedy and untrue to their words of making there less corruption in a new government than that of the republic. The imperial navy was much different than the republic. They had used Venators right after the fall of the republic, but soon after they scrapped for better and newer technology and weapons. The empire's first new addition to their navy was the Gauzinati class cruiser. It could hold 4 TIE fighters on the underbelly of the ship. It was used as a support vessel for transporting weapons and other war supplies. The Empire soon thought kindly about the Raider-class corvette. This was a fast ship and was used on most of the famous squadrons in the galaxy. Inferno Squad. They were sent to deal with small insurgents in the Empire. It had a heavy array of weapons. The one ship still used from the Old Republic since the Old Republic was the Aquentus ship. This ship was fitted with new weapons and now had a way to launch TIE fighters from the front of the ship. The Indictator class support vessel was usually seen in the back of the fleet and was used to force enemies out of hyperspace, and if they were losing, then it would prevent them from retreating. It was very vulnerable to attack with little defenses and with its large gravity generators. The Empire's fleet had its weaknesses just like everyone else. The Imperial Star Destroyer had some very crucial weaknesses. Those ships had little defenses on the bottom of the ship. This led to the enemy using small squadrons to destroy the fighter band of the ship. The ship had its bridge and comms all in one spot, so a bombing run on the bridge would take it out. The last main weakness was how all of the heavy guns were bunched up and could be destroyed in one bombing run. The Death Star had one main weakness. That would take out the entire battle station. The main exhaust vent was extremely exposed and had been put there on purpose since its creation. This was so that it could be destroyed, and if the plans had fallen into the wrong, or in canon case, right hands. If the exhaust vent had been thinner and had been more spread out, it would be significantly more difficult to destroy. Second Death Star was more advanced, but the main exhaust vent was exposed still and could fit more than one fighter in it. This was because it was partially incomplete. The ground vehicles also had their weaknesses. The AT-AT had its legs exposed with a well-placed grapple that would come tumbling down. The neck was weak and unstable. This could lead it to toppling over with a rocket. The head was exposed to gunfire and took many beatings in battle. The AT-ST had similar weaknesses than that of the AT-AT. It had weak legs and the head was the main body and was hit by a whole bunch of gunfire. I believe that the Empire was more advanced in the ship department, but the Republic had better ground vehicles that wouldn't topple if one of the legs was taken out. This now answers the conclusion to my inquiry question. I think that the Republic had ruled the galaxy better because they had better trained troops and a better government than that of the Empire. With much more freedoms and rights, there was still corruption in the Republic, but there is always corruption in governments. The Republic had better ships that would be used in every battle, and each ship had things that could prevent other ships' weaknesses. The Republic's people had liked the Republic since the days of the Old Republic, but people were leaving because they saw corruption within their own government. My expert says that they believe that the Republic ruled better than the Galactic Empire. Before Order 66, the Republic was strong with lots of powerful figures, lances, and Jedi. They had powerful Jedi like Obi-Wan Kenobi and his Padawan Anakin Skywalker, and the wise Master Yoda. After Order 66, they think the Empire was more powerful than the Republic, but not better than them. They had taken down almost all the Jedi, and Anakin had turned over to the dark side, making him more powerful than what he was as the Padawan, the perfect new asset to the Empire.